Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. I'm Inquisitor Temperance Prize, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is my report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesis adaptation of Warhammer 40,000's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Tom McGee and players Ryan LaPlante as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt as Attikus Viz, Del Borovic as Morgan Rolls, and Josh Halbot as a mysterious new character. My report shows that the Inquisitorial band have stumbled onto a demon planet. Valentyne killed Trin Rakai to deny the demon whispering in his ear. Morgan remained deeply unsettled by the group's losses and situation, and Attikus carried the trio across a grotesque mouth canyon. But will the psyker they've discovered turn out to be their savior or their doom? Find out next in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
From the Lizardman letter, 3 months before the celestial season. They say, darlings, that nothing interesting ever happens in Greybridge, but truly that is only true of the uninteresting. There are stories to be told in every corner of our glorious society. One merely needs to dig deep enough to find them. In fact, this humble author would suggest you look in the mirror and ask, what's yours? Josh, who was your character prior to the fall of Greybridge?
Gideon, I think, was just sort of a very average, spoiled, noble child growing up. Constantly doted on in a very well-respected house, and I think having access to all of the pleasantries that come with that. So not knowing a hard day's work.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think for the better part.
And how did that sit for Gideon? Was that a good life or was that stifling?
As a child, I think it's what you know. So you just assume this is good. But I think as he kind of grew up and became a teenager and into his 20s, I think became quickly stifling. And then the sort of limitations of that life, especially with the idea that other things exist outside of the little pedantic political intrigue of Greybridge, eventually started really making him look outward and exploring what else could be in a grand imperium.
Gotcha. Okay. So with all that in mind, the celestial season came to Greybridge as it often did, and I think for a mid-level noble house that's in good standing, this was a time to jockey for position. Obviously, Duke Wixthrop's hand will be won by one of the big houses, one of the important people, but as you know, your parents and your tutors and everyone else would constantly, and honestly your peers would be constantly reminding you, there's a lot of room in the middle. And there's, well-respected and very well-respected. So this is a big opportunity for people to advance. Unfortunately, for someone like you who is interested in the greater Imperium, similar, honestly, to how Attikus, I think, felt and how Eli felt looking at kind of how Greybridge works, all this pomp and circumstance feels very small, and it is. Ultimately, Greybridge is a backwater planet, and I think once you got a taste of that, it was very difficult to get excited about, and we're going to have a big pageant again, everyone. It's like the same pageant we have year in, year out. So would you have been participating in the celestial season? The celestial season being, just as a recap, because it's honestly been a hot second for all of us.
Yeah.
Whenever a major noble family, or a member of the royal family, rather, is eligible, the celestial season comes to Greybridge. It is the height of the society, the thing everyone waits for. And it's a chance for someone to marry into the royal family. So Greybridge normally dreary, gray, raining all the time, Victorian London in every movie or video game I've ever experienced of it. During the celestial season, the Cloud Palace flies around the planet and alters the climate, bringing each of the seasons, usually for a week. And so it's festivals, it's games, it's sports. And again, there is a sense of who the victors will be. It's a little bit like in the Olympics when there's like people who will clearly are in medal contention. And then people are like, I'm just representing for my country. We've never been here before. I'm going to swim real hard. So your family likely falls somewhere in the middle of this where there is room above you to move into. And this is rare. This is the last celestial season for the foreseeable future. The Duke Wixthrop is the most eligible and last of the kind of the line of King Frederick, whose family has ruled Greybridge for your whole life, certainly. So I guess my question then for you is, what is Gideon going to participate in this? Are you like, you'd be expected to be at things, but do you think there's a familial pressure to like participate and try and win a partner, or where do you think Gideon falls in this?
I think Gideon participates with the expectation that everybody participates, but also does it with that sort of ironic over it, that he's seen this come and go for, as many times as he's gone through it. So I think he'll participate and he's purposely finishing last. He's taking other people, the people that are taking it very seriously. He's trying to rub them out when they're not paying attention, make it difficult for them. Right. I think he there's an aloof sort of quality that he's a little over it.
Gotcha. Okay. So the first major event was a race with sort of pleasure craft, basically. It was like a triathlon through space. So
with the horses?
Yeah.
I remember hearing about that. Yeah. And there was a lot of conversation about
horse confidence. Horse confidence became a big thing.
Okay.
So I think during that, you would have already started to feel the tone shift. I think you started out, let's get I don't think it was, what am I going to look for here? Yeah, let's get an athletics from you, please, to see how you did in the horse racing. Because as anyone who has ever had to sing badly or act badly, who is an actor, can attest, being bad at a thing you're actually good at can be challenging as well. So your difficulty is 1, you're good at horses because you grew up noble. So the way this will work is you'll take your athletics ranks and your bronze skill. I think, Tyler, you may have side coached here, so I think we might be good. You've got your dice ready to go. I'll give you a boost for not actually wanting to win, so it doesn't really matter what's going on.
For being a cool teen.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you a teen?
No, but like the idea.
Okay, I just wanted to know it's important.
Confirmed teen.
He's 14.
There's a certain speed of shooting people in the face that shifts depending on age.
I'm going to win this horse race. Okay,
I'm a nice guy. I gotta really confuse the cool ones.
Great.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah,
Could you slow down?
So let's get that roll, please.
Perfect. So 1, is that a success?
Yep.
1 success and 2 advantage.
1 success, 2 advantage. Excellent. Okay, so you succeed in ruining some people's days. There's a couple of off-worlders who are participating. There's a rogue trader and a member of the Van Houten family who you would know is like the gum that sticks to the bottom of your shoe. Like, these guys broke bad real hard a long time ago and are a bit of a cautionary tale for just how poorly and how far a house can fall. Now, admittedly, they're not as frowned upon as the Voidstain family, who were accused of heresy and other things, and Sacrator Voidstain's running around. He's trying to participate. You don't even need to ruin his chances because he's just doing it by being him. But this newfound Lord Van Houten who has arrived is already causing a stir, and I think both he and Captain Rawls Varn, the rogue trader, are probably very attractive prospects to you because, as even just people to talk to, because they came from off-world. There's something different. That said, while you're fucking around at the end of the race, suddenly, the Lord Van Houten is off like a shot, and this guy is nothing like the people that you've been told were the Van Houtens. There's none of this kind of like losing all your money at gambling and then complaining about not having any money shit. It's like this big burly dude with a metal arm who's a war hero and is really confident with horses. So already your tomfoolery is being overshone by legitimate competitors, but ones that you are not opposed to in the way if, Lady Ballensong, for example, who's like the most society person you can think of. The Versailles or any of those folks. Like, this is kind of exciting for you. Anyway, all that to say, by the time you get into space, already there's a lot of violence occurring between these ships. You watch kind of as you come in for your landing as Lady Ballensong's ship crashes and explodes, as Versailles' ship crashes and explodes. And these are old family, old money. And immediately I think the fun maybe... It's interesting, but a bit of the fun drains out of it. Yeah. So much like a lot of the sort of middle society families, the competition begins to shift quickly and things start to get weird. The celestial season is shortened. The society is in mourning for 2 of its kind of like biggest and brightest, one of them dying, one of them being grievously injured. How would you participate in the rest of the games after these kind of massive events? Would you still be trying to kind of fuck things up for people in the bottom, or are you just trying to survive?
How impish are you during a tragedy?
I think he smartens up a little bit. I think especially when it's all fun and games until someone loses an eye, right? So yeah. I think he and then not as though he's still not trying to win. He's not trying to like succeed at this, but I think he stops fucking around with other people and he's taking it a little more.
Who's your do you have a most trusted confidant on Greybridge, do you think?
Not really. I think he's got like associates and friends and stuff like that, but he does have a little menial servitor that follows him around that I think he would probably be treat like a little therapist and a little diary.
Great.
Yeah, and he can just kind of jump. His name is Jeffrey, by the way.
Excellent.
Jeffrey.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
So you're consulting with Jeffrey.
In a 40K sense, Jeffrey is also the classic servitor of a human body that has been turned into a horrifying robot body.
Yes.
What part of Jeffrey is human? Like, what does he look like?
I think he's got that sort of like little creepy cheruby baby face, but I feel like it's sort of mushed together in an unsettling way. Like it was like, like a boxer that its face got kind of swollen up, but never kind of came down again. Yeah.
Excellent.
So I think that, facially human, but a little, and he tries to pretend like it's not a problem, but it's not great to look at.
A mashed up child's face.
Yeah.
Okay. And what does Gideon look like?
Gideon. I think Gideon's a pretty impressive looking guy. He's very tall and lean and very sort of agile. He's got a long sort of blonde braid that falls down in front of him. And he has, in contrast to some of the big, like, bulky imperial clothes, he has sort of like a loose Mediterranean kind of vibe. He's got some like low buttons undone, and a lot of like blousey kind of.
Nice.
He looks like very yacht wear, Mediterranean yacht wear.
Yeah. So a little bit on the rakish side of society fashion, but there's certainly a lot of that going around, and there's different stylistic influences and stuff. So yeah, that I think you would cut a bold look, but one that isn't so against what the norm is that people are like, oh my word, it's just kind of like there goes Gideon again.
Yeah. That weird baby,
weird Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
Good old Jeffrey. Okay, so you're confiding in Jeffrey about this as it goes. Once the lockdowns begin, things start to get much, much more serious. And, generally the tone of celebration is becoming one of paranoia. There's talks of uprising in the lower classes, and things are generally getting a bit weird. That said, as the days pull on, there are assassination attempts. There's an attempted uprising. Time and time again, these two off-worlders, one of the off-worlders is rising to the top. The rogue trader has fallen completely off the map. No one knows what happened to her.
And people think she sucks.
It was that person everyone's like, oh, wow, this is exciting. Oh, we were wrong.
Fail.
She made some people mad.
The producers of Drag Race were really excited for the drag queen and then eliminated round one.
Yeah, exactly. But Lord Van Houten continues to just kind of win improbably based on our dice pools at every opportunity. So it's becoming very clear that like this guy is going to marry into the royal family, and that takes a bit of the pressure off everyone else. And happily, despite all of the sort of horror and hijinks, the day of his wedding finally arrives. Would you be in attendance? This is a big society event. Basically, where your house sits, and sorry, what's Gideon's last name?
Vega.
So where the Vega house would sit is likely you're invited to the garden party beforehand. You're not allowed up into the VIP. Basically, once the palace takes off with all the VIPs, you can't come to that. But if you want to stand around and see and be seen, I think your family would definitely be there. Would you have attended as well?
Yeah, I think he'd definitely be on the peripheries. I think he's always there to, scoff a little bit at the pageantry of it all, but then hang out with the cool kids and smoke.
Cool. So the pageantry is pretty
How old is he?
I think he's like in his like mid-20s.
Okay.
But I feel like too, because he's led a very sheltered life.
No, that makes perfect sense. But I'm just like, I keep picturing a teen. I need a definitive age.
I shouldn't keep referencing. I know these references. It's all at like Arrested Development. I think that he's just now kind of like coming into that sort of like, he's a little over everything that he's seen.
Well, and based on the way we've talked about the society for the past season, it would also seem to me that like for a lot of people there, they likely don't come into their own until their family dies.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's basically like once you own the house, suddenly you have to be an adult about it, and even then, by then they're all like adult children anyway.
Yeah.
So the pageantry is wild. There have been a lot of things. There's a sort of horrific reveal as citizens bring forward the murdered body of Bobby Boberstein, who attempted to lead them in rebellion as sort of the serfs are all like, hey, no, we're cool. Don't kill us. But the marriage itself occurs. It is as kind of boring and pompous as you'd imagine. And any hope you had that Lord Van Houten was going to be something different coming from Offworld rapidly dies as a very generic, very basic ceremony happens. And wouldn't you know it, another rich asshole marries another rich asshole, and off they go to the clouds. So as soon as they leave, it's a little bit like when everyone leaves the wedding and everyone can just kind of get drunk and party. So the society quickly shakes off any sense of decorum because this is the last chance they have to really cut loose for some time. Lizzo Lizardman, the gossip columnist, will be focused on what's happening in the Cloud Palace, so everyone can afford to be a little naughty. So things start kind of going off. What do you think Gideon would be doing at this sort of wedding after the couple has left kind of situation?
I think participating in the revelry as much as someone who thinks they're above it will kind of do. Probably getting a little more drunk than he should be, but he's trying to keep it together and figuring out a reasonable time to go home.
Gotcha.
He's looking at the watch and he's and he sees these are the same people I've seen. He would have liked to have to seek out the rogue trader if she's around, but
sadly no sign of her. So it's just the same
boring people.
And
he scans through the crowd and then he sees Jeffrey, and Jeffrey looks tired, so should probably take him home.
So you're getting ready to go when something metallic bounces off your beautiful golden hair, and when you lean down and pick it up, it's a shell casing. And as you kind of look up, you hear other people kind of start to sort of like mutter and say things, and there's a lot of people like pulling out like telescopes and shit.
Opera glasses.
Yeah, exactly. And there seem to be like royal family drop ships just emptying gunfire into the Cloud Palace at distance, but they're zipping over this. The rogue trader's ship comes flying overhead. Missiles are being fired, and now the crowd is freaking the fuck out. Like, this is the royal family keeps, as you would know from growing up here, they're the only ones allowed weapons. They're the only, like, they keep a very tight kind of handle on things. But this is unheard of. So people are panicking. Some people are excited. They're doing that thing that you see tourists do around bears where they'll like pull over and be like, I'm going to go look at this bear up close. But, like, some people are like rushing to get into hover vehicles to go get a better look. Other people are booking it the fuck out. What do you think your instinct would be?
I think he... Not in a stupid way, but I think this is so fascinating to him, and especially that he saw the rogue trader. I think he's gonna again stay a little bit on the periphery on a little loop, but he's got to get in the mix somewhere.
Okay, so you start kind of fighting your way forward in the crowd as the crowd panics. There are a number of sort of viewing stations set up with those long, you put the dollar in
Niagara Falls.
Yeah, exactly. Things, because watching the Cloud Palace fly away it's also just a flex by the rich people to be like, look how great we are. Goodbye. Watch us as we depart to the clouds. So you rush up to one of those and activate it. And obviously there's no money involved because rich. And looking up, you see a ship explode. And then suddenly the Cloud Palace... not the rogue trader ship.
Oh, good. Dylan and I were looking at each other. He said, "Oh shit!"
No, this is the ship that Morgan shot.
Not the ship.
Yeah, you see a gunship, you see a gunship take a bullet and crash into the Cloud Palace, which is the one Morgan shot. And as you're kind of watching the palace, there's again this rogue trader ship just flying around, opening fire. Suddenly, the other vehicles stop shooting at it, which seems odd. And you kind of, there's a moment of as in a lot of sort of natural disasters and other things, a moment of calm and quiet as kind of nothing happens. You're staring at the Cloud Palace. You're staring at these vehicles kind of hovering around, but after all this intense action, there's nothing happening. And then suddenly the palace shifts dramatically, and you can see it spraying water from kind of the weather control systems. You hear a massive wrenching creak, like if a bridge comes down or a boat, like a large ship wrecks. And all of a sudden, there's a flash, and tendrils begin to kind of spread out of the Cloud Palace. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where as you're staring at them, the tendrils are deep and almost like overlaid on top of the image. They don't make sense. You can see kind of swirling shapes and other things through them. And people there's a lot of like, what's that? Fireworks? And then immediately these tears in reality begin to spread and reach. And you watch one just rip straight across the middle of the lawn. And several noble people who you've gone to school with, you've been at parties with, they're very boring, become much more interesting as their bodies invert. And you can see kind of swirling purple, red clouds, mysterious shapes moving. You could swear you see like that blurry Bigfoot image of just something walking by, and everything breaks into chaos as Greybridge begins to crack beneath your feet. What do you do?
I think he's going to try. I think he would try and get home. Yep. This is a sort of like, he's got one safe place that he likes being.
Sure.
So I think he's going to abandon these people that he's with, and he's going to use what little talents he knows that Jeffrey has. And I think he's just going to like make unblinking eye contact with Jeffrey and be like, "It's home time."
Great. So you take off through the streets, and you're watching just as like lightning strikes light up buildings around you as Greybridge seems to be shaking and trembling. It's like running through an earthquake. Buildings are collapsing or just falling off a cliff that seems to be opening beneath them. You see Royal Guard shooting into it in kind of a very classic, we don't know what else to do kind of way. You see people praying to the Emperor, like at hastily scrawling Aquilas in blood and things and praying desperately to the Emperor for salvation. You get home, you arrive back at your mansion just in time to see the back of it fall away. And you see who in your family lives at the mansion, do you think?
I think mostly just my mom.
Your mom?
Yeah.
Okay. You see her kind of rush to the door doing a like get in, not seeing that the mansion is like falling chunk by chunk away behind her. She says, "You must get in, it's home time."
It's home time, yes. And he like goes to get her and get in.
Great. And as you kind of like reach her, Buster Keaton style, the whole frame of the house just falls backward into the warp. Can you roll me a discipline, please?
This is where your character dies.
Yeah.
We're actually
despair.
Yeah. We're adventuring with your mom.
Yeah.
Who do you think the ghost lady is? All right, so we're going to call this difficulty of 3 purple.
So 3 purple.
Mm-hmm. Of those 3, that is your willpower.
Yeah.
2 of them, your 2 ranks will be yellow.
Okay, so I go bink bink.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And a boost.
Yep. A boost for Jeffrey.
Yep.
A boost for your mom. You've got 2 kind of like you got home, so you've got a bit of that stability. And I'll give you no, I won't give you a setback because you've observed enough of this to know, like you didn't just wake up and fall through space and time. You saw this happening. So yeah.
Cool. Let's see what we got. 2 successes and 1 advantage.
Okay, amazing. So you begin to fall, and time dilates around you. It's hard to tell kind of whether what's up, what's down. At one point, you could swear that your fingers and hands just kind of fell off, and you kind of reached forward with your arms, and then just kind of clicked back on. You lose sight of your mom amongst all the kind of like swirling chaos of it. But you almost can't care because your brain is just struggling to make any sense of anything that's happening to you. And then suddenly you're on the ground. And there are mansions falling around you and crumbling and cracking. You're on alien soil. This is not Greybridge. The sky is all wrong. The air tastes wrong, and again, it's sort of the someone who's lived in extraordinary privilege, not understanding that the air isn't perfumed everywhere. There's just a real like, oh no, to this place. Standing, you kind of take in your surroundings. You see other members of Greybridge kind of like getting up. A couple of them have tentacle arms now and are just screaming uncontrollably. You see one lady just stabbing another noble with a shard of glass, just screaming uncontrollably. And nearby, you see where your mother fell. And to your relief and horror, she's not moving, but nor is she corrupted in any way. She's just laying there, dead but untouched by chaos, which is sort of a blessing and a curse. Jeffrey starts to pull at your sleeve as you kind of observe this sort of horrible moment, because there's you can see kind of bikes approaching that Jeffrey is kind of like clearly indicating like there. And there are people whooping and screaming and laughing on these bikes. The people of Greybridge around you are looking around in a panic. What do you do?
The bikes are coming up, and like he's never been put in a situation where I think he has to take the lead, but I think the overwhelming reality of kind of what's taking place is going to weigh on him in a way that he realizes he can't rely on anybody else now. And he I think has always kind of looked to the comforts of his life, like Jeffrey and his mom, to kind of take care of him. But with his mom dead and Jeffrey probably going to be a little out of his depth now, I think he's going to call for everyone in the group to turn and follow him.
Okay. So what I'll need then from you is a leadership check, please. This is presence and leadership.
He's not good at that.
Well, the crowd
this is new to him.
The crowd is not great at listening either.
good.
So this is a difficulty of 4. I'm going to spend a story point to make one of them red.
Oh, good.
3 purple, 1 red.
Love that. This is going to go poorly.
I'm going to give you a boost for... Weirdly, even though this is something that Gideon's never had to do, based on the way you've been thinking about the wider world and the society, I think you've probably put enough thinking into this is all a show and a game. And if anything legitimately bad ever happened here, well, it's the classic, what would I do?
Yeah.
So, you've never done this, but it's not, you have a chance here. I will give you a setback for the tremendous tragedy you've just suffered.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's go with that.
This is going to be so bad.
A little spicy.
Let's see.
You also have story points at your disposal, I assume.
Yes, sure. Yep.
Yeah.
I like the idea that this, it's that what would I do in this situation, and he's presented with it, and now he's completely unprepared for the moment.
As is always the way.
Right?
What
And
would I do?
his voice is kind of catching in his throat as he's trying to like get that. Come. So that's 1 fail and 1 threat. That's not as bad as it could have been.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So these sort of like horror ravaged versions of the citizens of Greybridge turn towards you, and almost with like feral abandon, just like the one who'd been stabbing just screams and runs at you, blade up. At which point your vision kind of blurs and doubles, and you see just the briefest glimpse of flames that you almost remember passing through as you fell through the warp. And though your skin isn't burnt, looking down, it almost seems like you can see fire just dancing across your arms. And looking up, I assume in almost a panic, you just kind of like throw your arms up in a like, oh fuck. And a wave of flame jets up out of the ground. Again, you feel that time dilation a bit as the sort of newly infused psyker powers of the warp awaken within you. We talk a lot in 40K about the warp and using psyker powers in kind of materium space and everything else, and how dangerous that is. Psyker powers in the warp, it's a bit of a different game. So with kind of unintentional with intent to protect, but no understanding of pyromancy or anything else, you summon a barrier of flame and watch in horror as the citizens of Greybridge break against it, just igniting, falling away. At which point the raiders arrive and start laughing and kind of like attacking. Greybridge folks are fighting back. It's a complete clusterfuck. You see a royal guard jump up on top of a thing doing the classic like Doom guy cover where he's just on top of a thing firing down, and someone throws a spear through him. The armor's good for lasers. It's not great for getting impaled. So he falls back, kind of firing into the sky. And it's time to go. Yeah. Jeffrey's like, let's go. Okay. So the two of you take off, kind of running through the ruins, and you step on something squishy. And you can see a small kind of green creature looking up at you with a hideous grin. And you see a bunch of these things starting to run around. They're bouncing. They're all jumping along and kind of like if you unleashed a bunch of like rubber balls. So it's a little bit of that. But everywhere they step, they're leaving these sort of mucousy patches as they walk. And you can almost see whatever they're touching turning slightly greenish yellow as they kind of cut a path through it. But it is time to fucking go. So you and Jeffrey are kind of like running, trying to dodge through these things. When running up towards one of these buildings, you see Lord Van Houten, of all people, Captain Varn, the rogue trader, and someone wearing a rosette, just an imperial, like the eye of the Inquisition, which I think would be known even to you, just kind of jangling, because you still have that out, eh, Ryan?
Correct.
Yep. Jangling, wearing sort of an old style commissar cap. And you see these creatures turn and start to converge on them. You've just said that, you need someone to rely on. And this is the equivalent of finding like the only firefighter in the fire. So seeing, someone who's proven themselves capable, who's a commander, seeing someone who has experience getting off world and an honest to Emperor Inquisitor, you run towards them only to see these creatures start to swarm. And again, just reaching out and kind of trusting in with the equivalent of a stop, your hands fly out and flame, again, like your vision blurs. This time you can see flame kind of flick off of your eyes as you do it. And jets of flame engulf these small creatures up to and including toasting the one on the hand of the Lord Van Houten, at which point they all look at you and you say,
I'm sorry, I'm new at this.
To be clear.
Morgan, as soon as those monsters started coming out of the hole towards Attikus, she was freaked out and backpedaled onto her butt. And then the moment this guy came and shot flame, she lined up a headshot and then hesitated because she was thinking, psyker, but says, I have a shot.
Yeah, I think Valentyne, it's two hands out to his two companions.
Okay, Attikus was closing distance.
I was going to say, it's just full Inquisitor Velociraptor stopping. Like, hold for a moment. Have you had these powers before? What do you mean inexperienced?
No, these are new.
What is your name?
My name is Gideon Vega.
Congratulations, Gideon Vega. You are now being deputized to the service of His Imperial Majesty's Holy Inquisition. I am Inquisitor Lucius Valen.
His hands are
paused.
still.
I thought you were going to say something.
It's just his hands are still on fire, but he's holding them up because he's scared. So he's like, and he puts them down and like tries to extinguish them. Okay, yes. Okay, that would be... Oh, yes, thank you.
Excellent. I'm Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, and you have been officially given the brevet rank of Sanctioned Psyker. He looks to Attikus, because Attikus knows that term from the Astra Militarum.
The fist comes down to a more relaxed thing, and he turns back to the tunnel that these creatures were coming out of.
Well, so you punched a hole. You can think of it like rats coming out of a wall. So as you were trying to like pull Toby off, you were punching away the wall around him, and at one point you punched through the wall, and they were all kind of like... scurrying around behind there. So they were all...
And they're toasted.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, like marshmallows.
Okay.
We need a situation report. What has been happening? How long have you been here? How long do you believe you've been here?
I think I've been here for 2 minutes. Just now.
Excellent. From Greybridge, I assume?
Yes.
Congratulations. And he offers a hand and he says, nice to meet you. We're going to need to kill some of these raiders.
Yes. Okay. And he like looks around and me?
You're going to use the whole psyker thing you just did. I'm aware that it's new. Stand behind me, if you will. Valentyne will activate his refractor field because now we're in a goddamn war zone.
Yeah.
And he'd like to look around the corner and just see what the tactical situation is with these raiders versus people who've been here for 2 minutes. He'd really hoped it had been like a hardcore group that had pulled themselves together over a day and a half or 2 days of some sort. He's like, okay, well, we don't have that.
I mean, time in the warp is weird.
I know.
So some of these people do look like they've been here for a while. Some of them just fell out of space and time. So you're again, like, I think knowing what the people of Greybridge look like, you can absolutely see who's a castaway and who just fell off the back of the pumpkin wagon. And there's definitely some people who are showing up, like, dusting themselves off. And then there's the feral lady with the knives who is, like, wearing improvised, well, she burnt up, but, like, there's people like her who are wearing, classic, I've been trying to survive here kind of shit. So it's a mixed group. Immediately, though, based on your military training, these people are not working together. It's a lot of, like, panicked, we don't know what to do here. And between the small creatures and the weirdness of this place, and also the psychic assault all of you took landing here, the odds of some of these people having just gone, like, lost their mind to the warp is very, very high. The raiders, meanwhile, are doing the vulture thing. They seem to be kind of like zipping in where there's easy opportunity, but they're taking their time. It's a little bit like hyenas, just circling this kind of group of survivors. And when there's an easy target, just picking one off, and then often driving away with them.
Cool. How many hyenas versus how many victims?
So there are, now that a bunch of them got burnt up by a wall of fire, there are less.
Like, burnt up makes me laugh. Oh, the lady with the glass, now she got burnt up.
Yeah. So
Medical term. Yeah.
yeah. So you see, currently there are 6 bikes circling. There are 4 people kind of on the ground. You can see a leader at distance doing their classic, like, arms crossed, observing things. Even from here, you can see just kind of like little sparks of psionic energy breaking off them. They're wearing what almost looks like a jumpsuit that they have unzipped kind of to their navel. They've got odd marks kind of scarred into them that are glowing a bit with kind of a purple energy, and just an iron band kind of around their forehead that looks rough, like it's a dented metal thing that they've pulled down over it, but very gaunt, and eyes just kind of pure white from psionic energy. So I mean, you know what psychers look like. That one ain't sanctioned. So
I've got my sanctioned one.
Yeah, there's a witch overseeing this, and then the raiders themselves again look like a motley crew of bandits. Basically, you can tell that there's not a lot going on in their heads because they've been living on a chaos planet for a bit, but there is enough. They seem organized enough, possibly because of the psyker, that they can act as a team and are working together. But you're not seeing a lot of tactical play here. It really is animalistic, even though they're using bikes and weapons.
They're feral. Yeah. Okay, Valentyne will take this in very quickly and kind of wave his compatriots forward and say, the combat plan is relatively simple. Morgan, kill the psyker. You've got long-range weaponry. Let's make that happen. We need bikes. Obviously, we'll draw their attention. At the same time, I'll launch Eugene and give a certain announcement to our friends to let them know that the Inquisition is present and they need to begin working together. Attikus, prepare for when they get close. I'm afraid, Gideon, my new companion, you don't quite have a rank yet, but at the same time, this psyker may survive the first sniper shot and make a move on us. If they do, I need you to eliminate them.
Gideon's going to lean over to you and go, Lord Van Houten, I don't understand.
Attikus, Colonel Attikus V's.
We've been...
No.
Gideon, I need you to look at me for a moment. Now, imagine me, and he turns his cap around and brings it down over his eyes and says, hello, I'm Rabute Figuerello, a valet. Yes. He flips the cap back around. Valentyne, to paint this picture clearly for you, Josh, he is wearing a storm coat, the kind of great coat that you would see on military figures and any sort of painting that would ever have been seen of any soldier in the Astra Militarum, along with a peaked cap that is sharply put in place. He is as tall as you and as gaunt as you. I don't know if you meet a lot of people at eye level level, but Valentyne is at eye level for you. The other thing that makes him, his smile makes him seem warm, but he has a scar across the bridge of his nose and across both eyes that lines up with his ears. And he has 2 metallic eyes that are of a quality far beyond what you would see at Greybridge. He has literal emerald irises, which means his eyes can give 0 expression whatsoever and are, in fact, quite disturbing to look into. But his smile balances it. Not really at all, but he's trying. That is who you are looking at. He's wearing an imperial breastplate with a rosette dangling from a chain on his neck. He also has a refractor field, so you are looking at a glowing force field around his body. A la kind of the new version of Dune, where it's just blurring and keeping him safe. That's who's talking to you. I am actually an Inquisitor. We have always been with the Inquisition. This is Colonel Attikus Vis of the Astra Militarum. This is Morgan Rawls, my interrogator. You may receive a rank of your own in time. Everything you understand about us is a lie, because I am the Inquisition and I speak with the Emperor's voice. Forget that. I need you to summon those flames if that person comes near us, or anyone else. If you can make sure that their bikes don't explode, that would be preferable. At the same time, I prefer to be alive.
And I think Gideon gets a very small nosebleed. And it's just, and he kind of rubs it away. He's going to blow. Yeah.
No. That's washing down your fist.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
And a gun, Valentyne's gun snaps up over your shoulder. He says, "Is that servitor with you?"
Yes. Jeffrey. That's Jeffrey.
What does Jeffrey do?
And he looks at Jeffrey and then kind of shrugs. He's my servitor. He's my confidant. It's Jeffrey. Why?
All right. Valentyne will just keep the gun in hand, but take it down because the man has a robot butler. Is he wearing a tuxedo? What does Jeffrey wear?
No, he's like a little naked baby.
Oh my god!
He's like a little freaky.
Just a naked robot man.
like
Like
a
never
little-
dressed up.
Yes,
robot
He's
cherub.
technically not a cherub. He's a menial. So he's just a full person size robot.
He's just-
naked.
He sounds
That's
really
abnormal.
useful.
Valentyne just goes, and turns and says, "Combat plan, we continue. We'll go around the corner and engage. Morgan, your shot will begin everything. I'll yell afterwards. Take the time to aim that you need."
Yes, Inquisitor. And Morgan is on her hands and knees figuring out, is Toby operable? Is he broken?
He'll need some tech use to get back in the game, but he's not busted up. He's just like,
All right.
he's had worse.
Perfect. Then Toby will be just on her shoulder, and then she will squat down and start sighting this long-range shot.
And Valentyne, over your shoulder, the figure fully appears now and just kind of like steps up, just peering over your shoulder as kind of an aide de camp would, and says, "Lucius, do you require your new assistant to have a better understanding of the flames?"
That is a great question. Just a moment. And he's going to turn to Gideon while sidestepping to the left and say, "Burn her."
Do I see?
Point to this person.
Yeah.
You see a weird glowing lady. It's not great. Although you're a psyker, so you actually don't get the weird glowing thing. You just see like a woman standing there. She looks remarkably like your mother. And just smiles and gives you like a pleasant wave.
I think the hand goes out and then is like trembling and nothing happens.
Oh, you mistook it as a question. Gun to forehead. Burn her.
And she just smiles knowingly and says, "Don't worry, like this." And she just gestures briefly and the flame leaps from your hand and torches her. And she just stands there as the fire like rolls over her, kind of like she'd check a watch if she had a watch. And then she says, "You're going to do great. We have such high hopes for you." And then she disappears.
Did it work? Valentyne just saw a blast of flame. He couldn't see her in it because he's not a psyker.
I think he has like tears kind of rolling down his face and he's just like nodding.
She's dead. The demon is dead.
No, sir. She's just gone.
How do you know?
I looked.
I looked and only saw psychic flame overwashing nothing. She's alive. Why did it not work? Why didn't you strike immediately?
I don't know. She looked like my mother.
Excellent. I don't care.
I'm sorry.
Is your mother here?
What does that have to do with
Yes.
it?
Is she alive? Is she dead?
Yes. She's over there.
He looks over and sees a body, and he says, "Unfortunate. What I'm going to need you to do is gird yourself for combat. Forget your mother. You have no mother. Do you know who your mother is? The Emperor. And do you know who speaks with the Emperor's voice? Me. So at this point, when I point to someone and I say burn them to death, you need to do that immediately, because right now you've allowed a demon to perhaps take some kind of hold over you."
And I think he's quickly becoming overwhelmed with what's happening. So he's,
Valentyne is not good at slowing down for new people.
Yeah. So he's sort of collapsing in on himself a little bit, and he doesn't know what to say. And I think just tears are kind of like rolling down his face, and he's trying to compose and look, but nothing makes sense.
I will say nothing makes sense from kind of the scenario, but after that creature beckoned to you, you feel like you have a very solid sense of what you can do. You don't know how. You don't know how you can do it, but like it was almost like something, a misaligned piece clicked in your head, kind of giving you your full range of psyker abilities. Not a comfort, to be clear, but a thing. And as you're kind of in that moment, your shoulder just gets nudged kind of aggressively by Jeffrey, who just kind of comes up and I guess sinks down next to you, and being a menial who's also your therapist just can't really do much, but just kind of turns to you. Does Jeffrey speak in like Bionic or anything, or just is Jeffrey like a silent?
I kind of like the idea that he's just silent. Yeah.
So Jeffrey comes over and sits with you, and then just like gives a stink eye glare at Valentyne.
At Valentyne's back. Valentyne has already been like, he didn't argue. I'll take a win where I can.
Yep. So the two of you kind of sit in that moment. Attikus or Morgan, would you intercede in this at all?
Morgan is like, "I'm ready, sir."
Take the shot.
All right. So Morgan, you line up your shot. Attikus, you're cocking your fist. It's a bit of the hero moment where everyone is like taking off into combat, but just as all of them move away, we remain with you, Gideon, a son of Greybridge, experiencing the horrors of the warp, having suffered tremendous tragedy, alone with your servitor as flames kind of dance across your fingers and tears roll down your cheeks.
This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features the voices of players Ryan LaPlante, Tyler Hewitt, Josh Halbot, and Del Borovic, alongside Game Master Tom McGee. This episode was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and the Valentyne Heresy's artwork was created by Del Borovic at delborovic.com. That's DELBOROVIC.com. Our theme song is The Hordes by Megan McDuffie, and our ad breaks use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR. All of their music is available at freemusicarchive.org. For all things Dum-Dums and Dice, including merchandise and how to join our Patreon, you can visit dumdumdice.com or find us on social media at dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics.
Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christopher Little, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, Schrodinger's Pepper, Madre de Gatos, Lady Maiden, Garbo Ape, Locke, Sam Schaefer, Waffle Marine, Dagger Rain, Rob L, Dia De Los Hoodless, Squishy Werewolf, Remy Funky Head, Accent Therapeutic Services in Florence, Kentucky, Lael, Shulzari, The Long Family, Jordan Oliver, Richard Wright, Brittany Fenwick, Alex Parr, Old Man Mojo, Dragonfly, The Body Barrelers, Megan Werner, A Man Out of Time, Curtis at FingerTechRobotics.com, Panda24NN, Shendra D, Your Homeboy Bones, The Gata Family, Ellis Hatch, Odigenous, Dan the Welshman, Afflicto Gaming, Aiden, Beef Not Cheese, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.